this video, I'm going to go over the basic use of the Control Module within XploriLab. The basics that you need to know is in the Control Module, you are setting up simple if-then conditions. Make sure you have an Explorers connected to your device before starting to use this environment. You need to first choose which sensor is going to be controlling when your then or your output happens. So from the if menu, click choose sensor, and you can select from any of the listed sensors. If desired, you can also select multiple sensors using the plus sign. One thing to know here is that the OR feature or function in the middle here is essentially saying that if this or this happens, or both, then you want to do whatever is in your output. If you want the output to only happen, however, when both of these conditions are met, make sure you change that to an AND condition. For now, I'm going to delete that and go over your different input options. We have our greater than or less than symbols here at the beginning, and those are pretty straightforward. The if condition will only be met if that sensor is either greater than or less than a given value. On the other hand, we have thresholds, and the threshold buttons say that the if condition will only be met once the sensor crosses a certain threshold. Now, the main difference between the thresholds and the greater thans and less than is that every time the sensor is greater than or less than a certain value, it will activate the output. Whereas with the thresholds, it's only the first time that threshold is reached. Now, the one in the middle here is the most flexible of all of the options, and also the most complicated. I like to consider this sort of a between condition. And so when I click on this one, it is giving me an option for not just a single value, but multiple values. And so in a simple condition, this would be if the light is anywhere between value minimum and value maximum, do an output. But this one also has a really interesting ability to linearly control an output as long as it is between those values. So it's not as simple as turning something on and off, which it can do. It also will allow you to linearly control something, such as the speed of an animation or the note on a scale, based on how much of a thing that sensor is reading. So I'm going to give you an example of this one. So as my light goes from 0 light to 1,000 light, I want to control the display of my explorers. Now you notice over here in the then conditions, this is where I'm choosing the output of my if-then statement. So I can control a number of different parts or features of my explorers, from the display and sound to the voltage outs, even the servos and contacts. So with display selected, I will now be able to choose a specific condition. Now, display has to use this between if statement. It does not work with the other ones, which is why I'm choosing it as a good example. Once I have chosen my output, I must choose the condition, and the conditions are going to vary for every single output option available. I can choose for display either animation speed or animation frame, which is which frame number the animation is pulling from. So I'm going to choose animation speed, and then I have to choose which animation number I would like to be controlling. And you can figure out which one is which by going into the animation module and looking to download an animation where you can find out which animation is which number. Then I get to choose the animation speed in frames per second from very slow to very fast. So this sort of a sample if-then statement says that as the brightness increases from 0 lux to 1,000 lux, increase the speed of the animation from 1 frame per second to 24 frames per second. Once I've set up the if-then statement I would like, I can go ahead and click the play button and it will start activating on my device. A few other things to know to finish up this control module interface overview video, which is that just like you could do multiple inputs, you can also do multiple outputs. So I could also have it controlling a sound sweep, which will control which note is being played. And I can set the volume here for that. So you can do as many then statements as makes sense for your if condition. Each of these different outputs has different options. So you're gonna notice that if you go into, say, controlling the servo motors, you have the option of setting it to a specific angle, or when using the between function, sort of sweeping between separate angles or specific angles. And this gives you minimum and maximum angles to check. With the voltage out, you're simply controlling whether the voltage out is on or off, and whether you're looking at the left or right side of your explorers. That's what these little arrows mean on the bottom of each of these symbols. I do recommend opening up this user guide because it gives you a lot of really good specific examples so you can understand what kind of conditional statements you can make within the control module of XploriLab. But thank you so much for watching this overview, and I hope you got some good information as you start diving into this really powerful and fun interface.